Hello and welcome to Developers 10 by Newton School. I'm 𝐏𝐚𝐲 𝐀𝐟𝐭𝐞𝐫 I'm a front-end developer, and today we are going to create Nike's landing page that you must have seen on the thumbnail. So it's a very interesting product landing page because Nike launches very cool and funky sneakers all the time, and it's good that they might have a dedicated landing page for each of their sneakers. So similarly, we're going to create a website landing page. It's just a concept that I picked up from Figma. Credit goes to the creator for the design. So we'll try to replicate that particular design here today. So if you want to learn how to make cool UI landing pages, then watch the entire video code along with me. And by the end of this video, you'll have a Nike landing page of your own. So let me get started by just minimizing the screen so that you can see the actual UI on my screen. So to build this, I'm going to use React and no other third party I'm going to use. I just have these assets downloaded that I'll share with you in the GitHub repo. The link will be in the description. But before starting, a big thanks to Newton School for helping me make this video. Newton School is a platform that teaches you full stack development, and they promise that you'll get a job of minimum 5 lakh rupees. It can range up to 40 lakh rupees per annum. And the best part about Newton School is that you don't have to pay even a single penny unless and until you get a job. Do check them out. The link will be in the description below. And let me give you a quick demo of what we're going to build. So this is the just one page landing video, nothing else, nothing extra, nothing really fancy, as you can see. So let me just minimize myself and keep it here so that I don't disturb any other element on the screen. As you can see, this is a plain header. There is no functionality. This is just a UI because being front-end developer, you should know how to create such minimalistic UI for product landing pages. And you can see if I click on kids collections, all the effects are there. Then we have this. The primary focus of this website is on this particular sneaker that you see here. And then we have a title for the whatever sneaker it is. Then there is some description, the price, add to bag, and then some product images. So this is just one page layout that I'm going to create in this video. So if you want to build the same, let's go. So what we'll do is we'll go to the source folder wherever we want to create it. I'll open up my terminal. I'll increase the size so that you can also see whatever I'm doing. I'll keep myself here for better view, and I'll go to my desktop because that's where I keep most of my folders while I'm creating any project. And I'll say npx create React app, and let's call this Nike landing page. Now this will create a template for me. So here, as you can see, I'm using CRA. So create React app is basically an npm package that I have installed. Many of the developers worldwide use this package to create a simple template to get started with the React development. You can also use it. So, and the best part is that behind the hood, it uses Webpack to bundle everything. If you don't know what Webpack is, I'm bringing a new series on my channel to teach you Webpack from scratch. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel, you're liking this video, and if you have any doubt throughout the code, throughout the video, do comment it out. I'll be happy to help. Now, as you can see that Nike landing page is created. Meanwhile, before this, I want to show you something else. Now, suppose if I open this assets folder here, you can see, let me just sort it by kind. So you can see there are a few assets that I'm going to use on my screen. First of all, this is the major sneaker image that is taking a lot of part of my screen. Then these product images, prod 1, prod 2, prod 3, then this video icon and the Nike logo. So all these assets are going to be used in my project. So what I'll do is I just drag into this folder where I want to use it. Now I'll open this Nike landing page CRA in my VS Code. So I'll be using VS Code. You can use any code editor that you want, be it Atom, be it Sublime, be it any. You can create on Code Sandbox online as well. But I prefer using VS Code because I'm very much familiar with VS Code and it's really fast and easy to use. So what I'll do is I'll increase the size first of all so that you can see whatever I'm coding on my screen. Yep. Now this is perfect. Now, as you can see, this is the assets folder that we just copied. What I'll do is I'll just move this into source folder because otherwise we won't be able to access this assets folder. Anything outside this source folder is not accessible. So let's get started with the coding part. I'll open my terminal inside my VS Code and I'll say npm start. So npm start. Now this will give me an error saying that my port 3000 is already busy because this project is running on my localhost 3000. So I'll just click on Y so that it can open on another port, which is 3001. So till that time, I'll open the second screen where I can see the UI myself while coding. So if you're seeing this particular revolving logo on your screen, then that means your Create React app is successfully done. So you can start coding in your application. So what I will do is I'll go to my app.js. I'll close this terminal because we don't need it, and I'll erase everything. I'll save it. Similarly, I'll go to my app.css. I'll erase everything and I'll save it. And that's it. We don't have to do anything else inside this. So if you see on the screen right now, it's really empty. So nothing is here. So let's understand what are the components we are going to build, because React is all about components. So as you can see on top, we have a header component. Then we have this component, let's call this as main fold component. And then we have this particular image. So it might look like a part of the main fold component. You can use it there also, but I prefer to say this as an overlay image. And then finally we have the footer element. So this footer element we have. So let's get started with building the scratch files first of all. So this is the code where VS Code where we are coding. So I'll go to my source folder and I'll create a folder known as components. Now, if you are building a very large scale project where there are more than one screen and a lot of landing page, a lot of pages, then it's better to create a folder called as pages and keep everything there. But since this is just one page landing for Nike website, so I don't need to use any other page or views. I'll just create a components folder, and inside the components folder, I'll create a few folders. The first one is header, of course, header. The second, now the coding convention that I follow is that to create a folder with the capital letter, such as this header for each component, and inside that I create an index file, index.js. Now this index.js file acts as an entry point to my particular component. Now if I do RAFCE, you can see I can do header. Now this is the header component for me. And along inside each of the folder, if you have watched my previous video for NFT landing page or any of the project before this Dunzo clone I have done on my channel, you can watch all of those videos in my channel only. For that, you can see that I create a CSS file here only. Now this helps me keep my CSS close to the component so that I don't mess up with the CSS styling in my build. So what I'll do is I'll import the CSS file here. Import header.css. Perfect. Now next to this, I have to create another folder, and let's call this as main fold. So main fold is the part where we show the button to add to the cart and the Nike sneaker name, description, price, everything that comes under the main fold. So similarly, inside the main fold, we will have two files, index.js, RAFCE. Now RAFCE, this keyword that I'm writing and I'm generating a template here, this is possible because I use a extension called React Snippets in VS Code. You can download that too. It's completely free and it's super fast to code along with those extensions. So now let's call this as main fold. Now I'll save it. Similarly, I'll create a CSS file for my main fold, which will be mainfold.css. I'll import the CSS file here. Import mainfold.css. Perfect. Now I'll give some space. Now next to my main fold, just two more components are needed. The first one is overlay image. Now this component will just contain one image. That's it. That will this is this particular image. So what I'll do here is I'll go to my overlay image. I'll create an index file, index.js, and I'll do RAFCE. Now this is my overlay image. You can call this anything that you want. People prefer to call this as hero image or anything. You can call this anything. I just call it overlay image. So next up is that we have a CSS file for this. Now notice that my CSS file starts with a small letter. It's not capital letter. So this is how I segregate my index files and CSS files. Now I'll just import this overlay image here. Import overlay image.css. Now my CSS file is also imported. Now next to this overlay image, the final thing that I have to import is my footer. Now let's say footer, and inside this I'll say index.js RAFCE footer. Now you can see this is a lot of repetitive code. If you want to skip, just fast forward this particular part where I'm creating all the scratch files for my project. And I'll say okay, but before this I'll create a CSS file, footer.css. Perfect. I'll import this now. Import footer.css. Perfect. Now all my four components are done. Now while I make any project, I make sure that I'm not using the CSS property of background color or color, and I don't put the hash color, the hex code that you see directly. Instead, what I do is I always create a file called variable.css, and there I keep all my colors. So that suppose tomorrow I want to change the UI, suppose tomorrow I want to implement a dark mode in this particular website, so I just have to change the CSS at one place, and I don't have to go into inside each of the folder and change it again and again. So what I will do is next to my component, I'll create a folder called styles. And inside this styles folder, I'll create a file called variables.css. Perfect. Now here, for this root, now in React, if you see, this is the root component inside which everything lies. So for this root, I want to declare the variables. The convention inside React is in CSS for declaring variable is double hyphen and whatever variable name you want to give. So the first variable name that I want to give is 𝐵G_cream, which means the background cream color that we see here. Now the hex code for this is which is hashtag, as I can see, E4 and it is E4DFDC. So this I picked from the internet, or if you are building a project inside a startup or something, the designer will give you all of these hex code, or you can experiment with your own color codes. Now I prefer taking these inspiration from Figma or Dribble or Behance. You can check out these websites to get the best design inspirations. Now next to this, I want to declare the white color because we are going to use white color a lot in our website. So FFF. Perfect. This is the white color. Similarly, I'll put the black color in a variable as well, which is 0000000. Perfect. Now this is the black color that we have. Next to this, we have two black colors. We'll declare these as we go on coding wherever it is needed. So this is it. Now we just have to import this particular style file inside our CSS. So I'll say import URL. Now I have to pass the relative path for this. So to pass the relative path, let's say go to styles and here variable.css. Now this particular variable file is imported inside app.css, now which is imported here. So RAFCE, this is my app, and inside app I'll import my app.css file. So app.css. Now this is capital case A here because this is the default generated file given by React CRA. You can either change it or you can keep it this way so that you know that this file was created by CRA and not by you. So I keep it this way only. Now as you can see, this is it. Now what I prefer to do in my application is that I give the first class name same as the file name. So for this it will be app. Now what I will do, I'll go to my app.css and here I will declare the CSS classes for my app file. So what I will do is, as the CSS file is imported, next is that dot app. Now this is the selector for my class. Now the first thing that I want to do is background color to be 𝐵G_cream. Now if you will see, this is what we have to do is what I'll do is I'll fix it like this. So this is here. Yep, this is where we code. This is our live demo and this is the reference website that we have to build. So as you can see, background color is, you can see this is the cream color here, but it is not taking the entire width. So what I will do is I will say that minimum height take as 100 view height, and similarly take minimum width as 100 view width, which means take the entire height and width of the screen. Now you will see the entire screen is of cream color that we wanted. Now next to the minimum height and minimum width, I want everything to be, now if something overflows, I don't want to show it, so I'll say overflow as hidden. Now next to this, I want it to give a position of relative. Now I'll explain later why we give this a position of relative, because this particular image is in a position of absolute with respect to the app. So therefore, in order to make the absolute positioning work, you have to give the parent another property of CSS, which is as position as relative. Now this footer, this main fold, this header, this main fold, and this footer, all of these are going to come inside my app. Now I want to display it one top of each other. So for this, I want to say that display as flex. Now flex is my favorite CSS property because if you know how to use flex properly, you can create any type of layout in CSS. You can also use grid, but I prefer using flexbox. So if you want to learn flexbox, you can watch other videos on my channel where I teach everything from scratch. Wherever I use any CSS property, I explain it why we use this particular property. Now for display as flex, now what I want to do is I want to change the flex direction. By default, flex direction is in a row, but we will change it in a column. Now up next to the flex direction, I want to change justify content. Now justify content, if the flex direction is column, now justify content means how you are placing your elements inside the this vertical line. So I want to say that push it extreme to the end. Now suppose there are two elements. I'll just show you very quickly. Now there are, let us say this is my header and this is my footer. Suppose this is my footer. Now both of these are inside my this thing. Now you can see both of these are sticking to each other. Now, if I say that justify content to space between, these will be pushed to the extreme ends. As you can see, footer is here and my header is here. So this is what I wanted to achieve with my property of justify content as space between. Now, similarly, I want everything horizontally to be centered. So I'll say align items as center. Now, this is the total property that I want. Let's get started with building the first component in our application, that is the header component. So I'll go to my header, and inside my header, let us see what all we have to build. So for the header, we just have a Nike logo first of all, and so okay, perfect. Here now here, if you see, we have a Nike logo and we have some tabs, right? So what kind of tabs we have? Just 4 tabs. So generally you get all of these from your backend, but we are just creating the landing page for the front end. So I will create something here known as constant tabs. Now this will be an array. The first tab is of women, men, kids, and collections. So let's say women, men, and then kids, and then finally collection. Perfect. Now these are the tabs that we have to render in our header, and the first thing that in our header that I see is the Nike logo. So I'll say an image, and for this, first of all, I'll give the alt. If you see the yellow underline, it means that this image tag doesn't have a alternate text as of now. So I'll just say Nike logo, and the next thing is I'll give a class name. So I'll give this a class name of header logo. I forgot that the first div, always I give it a class name of either the file name or the file name plus wrapper. So not logo, header. Now inside this, I have this header logo. Now I have to pass the source require this. So if you are creating React application using create React app, which uses Webpack, so you have to pass the URL like this. If it is the local path URL, but if it is you are passing a internet URL, you can just directly paste it. But if it is a local path URL, you have to do it like this. So just go to your back. Now go to assets, and the logo is called as Nike logo. So I'll say Nike logo, not L is not capital. Let me check. Yes, logo dot png, sure. So as you can see inside my assets, I have this Nike logo. So if you go to the header and if you go to your own website, you can see the header is on the screen right now. Now next to the header, but before we start with the tab section, let's quickly go and style the header and the Nike logo. So I'll go to the header CSS file here, and this file is unsafe. Sorry, cancel. I'll just save this. And where were we? Header.css. So here, header. Now if you'll see, there is some padding here, padding from left and padding from right. So I'll give that property first of all. I'll say padding of 36 pixel, and 0 pixel from, this 36 pixel is from top and bottom. From left and right, I'm giving it 0 pixel as of now, because I want to give it a width of 100. Now what happens if you give any component a width of 100, which means to take the entire width of the parent and then you give some padding, then it overflows from the parent div. So therefore we are not giving it any padding from left and right. So next to this width, I want to display it as flex. And now since it is not displaying in a column manner, I just want to say justify content as flex start. Flex start means from the very beginning of the beginning of the div here. Now flex end and align items as center, because I want everything to be in the center. Now next to this, I have my header logo. So for my header logo, I just want margin left. Margin left means margin from the left. I want a lot of margin. I'll say 80 pixel. By mistake, I made it flex end. It is flex start. Now if you'll see, there is proper margin and my logo is on the screen. Now next to the logo, I want to create the tabs, right? So what I will do is I will go to my header file again, and here I will map through the array of tabs. So to map through the array of tabs, first of all, I'll create a container. Now the class name for this will be header tabs container. Header tabs container. Now header tabs container. Now inside this headers tab container, I'll map through this array. So I'll say tabs.map. Now map is a function available on any array. So what it does is it picks each of the element one by one, and whatever operation or whatever function you pass to it, it will do that operation or function on that particular element and returns you another array, or returns you whatever you want here. So suppose let's call this as individual tab. Now for each of the tab, I want to return a div. So I'll say div, and here I just want to render the tab name. Let us say tab. Why is it giving an error? Because tab is not defined. Perfect. Wait a minute. So let me just do this. Perfect. Now what I'm doing is I'm picking out each of the tab and I'm returning this div and rendering the tab name inside this. So if you'll see here, you can see women, men, kids collections. All of these are just displayed on the screen. Now let's give this a class name of now. For the class name for this particular tab will be different because based whether or not this tab is selected, I want to display a different type of class, right? So what I'll do is I'll create a state. Now let's call this as active tab and set active tab. Now this is where I use state hook. Now use state hook is a hook provided by React to make the functional components powerful. Earlier we just had class components, then we had functional components. Now to make functional components as useful as class components, we have hooks. Use state is one such hook which allows us to create states and provide a function to mutate the to change the value of the state. Now the initial value that I have is tabs and the zeroth element inside tab, which means woman. Now what I will do is inside this div for the class name, I will, instead of passing a string directly, I will pass string template. In JavaScript, basically, if you want to write variables, this is JSX. This entire thing that I'm writing here is JSX. So as I was saying that entire thing that we are writing is JSX, and inside this, if you want to write variables in a string, you need to use this backticks. So here in the backticks, I'll say that class name is equal to this. Now if the active tab, now if the active tab name is equal to underscore tab, which means if the name of the active tab is same as the tab that we are rendering right now, if these are same, then return the value of what you want to return here. I want to return that this is header tab, and along with this header tab active, header tab active. Now which means that right now let's understand it like this. Now if the for just this one, for just the women one, it will have two classes. One is header tab active and header tab. Now for the rest of all of these, I want to just return one thing, which is just header tab, header tab. Now if I save this, you won't see any change because we haven't written the CSS yet. Now similarly, I want to change the value of active tab based on, I'll just close this right now. So similarly, I want to change the value of active tab whenever we click on any of the tab. So what I'll do is I'll say on click. Now whenever I click on any of the div, these div, I want to change the value of active tab to be that particular div. So I'll write it like this. It's an anonymous function. So it's a bad practice to write anonymous function. Ideally you should have extracted it out in a different function, but it doesn't matter since this is a personal project. But if you're building a large scale project, avoid these things. Now here I'll say whatever the tab name is. So this is it. Now you must not be seeing anything, but once I put the CSS for this one, you'll be able to see everything. Now let's go to header.css file, and first of all I'll style the header tabs container. So it looks good on the screen so far. Let's say header tabs container, header tabs container. Now in this container, the first thing that, let me put my laptop like this. The first thing that we have here is, let's say display as flex, because I want everything to be in a row. So I say display as flex. Now if you'll see, you can see everything is in a row. Now next to this display as flex, the next property that I want is align items as center, because few of the elements might be bigger than others in vertically. So I want everything to be center. Now next to align items, I want some gap from the Nike logo. So I'll say margin left to be as 24 pixel, not 20 pixel, 24 pixel. So there is appropriate gap. Now next to this gap, let us create the style for header tab. So let's say header tab. Now for each of this tab, I want the background color to be a little, the text color to be a little different. So first of all, but before this, I'll say cursor to be pointer. Cursor pointer, which means it indicates that this particular element is clickable. Now next to the cursor pointer, I want margin. So margin needs to be 0 pixel from top and bottom and 24 pixel from left and right. So as you can see, there is appropriate gap here. Now let's go to, now for all the tabs that are active, as you can see, even this tab is active right now, but it doesn't have any other different styling. So to give it a different styling, I'll say header tab active. If you remember, we gave this the class name of active to whatever tab is active. So for header tab active, the first class that I want is text decoration. I want to underline is, sorry, header tab active, text decoration. I'll say underline this. The next one is I want to change the font size to a little bigger, 18 pixel. By default, the font size is 16 pixels. So if you don't give any font size, by default, it is 16 pixel. In fact, basically, it's just one rem, a relative unit. So, and for most of the laptops and screen size, it is 16 pixel only. So now if I want to give it a font weight of 700, now if you'll see, this woman is active, now men is active, kids is active, collection is active. Now it is black. I don't want it to be black, so I want it a different shade of black. So let me just see the hash code for that particular black color. Now this is shade black. So I'll say, so we have two black color inside all of our application. I'll just declare both of them right now. The first one is shade black, which is hashtag 2D 2D 2B 2C 2D 2B 2C. Perfect. Now the shade black to shade black to, you can give it whatever name you want, it doesn't matter. And you can also play along with the colors that we have, 333 333, and you can find inspiration on Dribble as always, as I mentioned. Now if you go to the header.css, and inside the header.css, if you now give this a color of shade black 2, where is it, header tab, now let us say color of, not columns, I want color of, sorry, I want color of variable shade black 2. Perfect. Now you can see this is the exact color that we wanted, and now our header part is done. So I'll wrap this video here because it's already been half an hour. So in the next video, what I will do is I will create this main fold section, and in the next video, in the third video, we'll complete everything with the footer section and the this overlay image. So see you in the next video. I hope you like this video. I hope you have subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss anything. And if you have any doubts so far, do comment it out. I'll help you for sure. Again, thanks Newton School for helping me make this video. See you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.